Chapter 2. The History of Kettlebells. Kettlebells are certainly no unproven fitness fad. Not only are they producing real world results across the world today, but they have a real rich, vibrant history going back to the very early days of strength training. It never hurts to know that the method you're using has worked for others before you, does it? Let's dig into the history of kettlebells. Kettlebells in ancient history. There's a bit of speculation and debate on who used the first kettlebell, but here's one thing that can't be argued. There's a 140 kilogram kettlebell stored at the Archaeological Museum of Athens, dated from ancient Greece, inscribed with a description of the weightlifter who managed to lift it overhead. So, there's clear evidence the kettlebells, very heavy ones at that, were used by early Greek athletes in training and to demonstrate feats of strength. Kettlebells in Russia. Fast forward to Mother Russia in the mid-1700s. Kettlebells were being used in these days as a countermeasure to weigh grain and other materials. The ever-boisterous Russian workers began engaging in contests to see who were stronger with the heavy bells. Slowly, this progressed into informal systems of training being developed by budding and actual Russian strongmen. Enter Dr. Vlad Krevetsky. Starting in the 1870s, this Russian legend began assembling ideas he picked up all over Eastern Europe on progressive strength and conditioning training, and used this as the foundation of his own system of physical culture. A chief tool Vlad advocated using was, of course, the kettlebell. In 1885, Krevetsky had his own gym, many students, and his ideas, and the use of the kettlebell, spread in Russia like wildfire. A few strongmen brought the kettlebell with them to America, but sadly, World War I, the Russian Civil War, and then World War II prevented the spread of the kettlebell into the West. The former Eastern Bloc was another story. The kettlebell developed a love affair with the military, and especially elite military units, of the former Soviet Union and the stunningly successful Soviet Olympic weightlifting teams. Kettlebells in America. With the breakup of the Soviet Union and the fall of Russian communism, many former Russian strength coaches and athletes made their way to America. Chief among these was Pavel Testulin, an ex-Russian Spetsnaz trainer who became an American fitness author. In 1998, Pavel wrote an article for a powerlifting magazine describing kettlebell training that inspired a company to not only publish his first book on the subject, but also being manufacturing the first line of American-made kettlebells in 2001. The company, Dragon Door, made their bells to strict Russian standards and marketed them to hardcore athletes and martial artists. Eventually, Pavel went on to create the Russian Kettlebell Club as both a certification program for trainers as well as a body which held and judged competitive kettlebell lifting contests. Now, the RKC is not the only game in town by far. In fact, Pavel himself has even broke ranks with them, and there is at least a small handful of American kettlebell certification training programs and competitive bodies. The kettlebell advantage has hit America, and it's here to stay.